R&B and soul legends, voices that stopped traffic, songs that made you feel like somebody understood your life. And every single one of them, at some point, sat across from a bottle that promised relief and delivered destruction. Some survived it. Some came back from it. And some never made it out. We're not here to judge them. We're here to remember them fully, honestly, and to understand what the music industry and life itself took from them and from us. This is Hitsville's darkest chapter. Number 10. Clyde McPhatter. Here's what most people don't know. Before Jackie Wilson, before Sam Cooke, before almost anyone, there was Clyde McPhatter, that high, aching tenor. Born in Durham, North Carolina, in 1932, McPhatter sang gospel as a child. By 19, he was the lead voice of Billy Ward and the Dominoes, one of the most dominant R&B groups of the early 50s. Songs like Have Mercy Baby and 60-Minute Man. Then he left, formed the Drifters, and gave us Money Honey and a version of White Christmas that genuinely rivals Bing Crosby. He was that good. Then, on his own at Atlantic Records, he hit with Treasure of Love in 1956 and A Lover's Question in 1958. Top 10 pop and R&B. But here's where the story turns. British invasion comes, the sound changes. And Clyde McPhatter, a man whose voice had literally blueprinted what Sam Cooke and Smokey Robinson would build on, starts to feel the industry pulling away. He moved to England in 1968, still had loyal fans there, played backup, took the bookings he could get. Came back to America in 1970, signed to Decca, tried one more time with an album called Welcome Home. Never got to record the next one. On June 13, 1972, Clyde McPhatter died in his sleep at the Bronx, New York. He was 39 years old. Cause of death, complications of heart, liver, and kidney disease, all brought on by years of alcohol abuse. Broke, despite having helped build a genre. His grave marker reads, "His voice will live forever." He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 15 years after he died. Number 9, Wilson Pickett. You already know the songs. In the Midnight Hour, Must Sally, Gangland of 1000 Dances. Wilson Pickett, they called him Wicked Pickett, and that nickname was earned, that raw, shredded, gospel-soaked shout of a voice. He didn't sing at you, he came after you. Born in Prattville, Alabama in 1941, Pickett moved to Detroit as a teenager and started singing in the church, the same pipeline that produced almost everyone on this list. By 1962, he was with the Falcons. By 1965, he was recording in the Midnight Hour with producer Jerry Wexler down at Stax in Memphis. And from that point forward, for about 6 years, Wilson Pickett was one of the most powerful forces in American soul music. Then something shifts. By 1972, just 7 years after that breakthrough, he was playing second-tier rooms in Las Vegas and spending, by some accounts, $3 using a day on drugs, cocaine, alcohol, both together feeding each other. And if you've ever watched someone you admire slowly become a version of themselves you don't recognize, you know how quietly that kind of thing happens. It doesn't announce itself, it just takes over. The records from the mid-70s onward were commercial failures. He couldn't adapt to disco. The 80s synth R&B era didn't want him, and the anger that had always lived underneath his voice started spilling out into his life. Arrests, altercations, violence. In 1993, he was sentenced to a year in jail after hitting an 86-year-old man while driving under the influence. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1991, the year The Commitments came out, the Irish movie about a band obsessed with him gave him a brief public revival, but the machine had been running on empty for 20 years by then.
Lord have mercy.
Wilson Pickett died of a heart attack on January 19, 2006. He was 64 years old, and honestly, the sheer force of his voice in 1965 deserved a better second act, but the bottle had already written the ending. Number 8, Bobby Womack. Bobby Womack is one of those names where if you know, you know, and if you don't, you've still been hearing his fingerprints all your life. Born in Cleveland, Ohio in 1944, Bobby was one of 5 brothers, gospel trained. Sam Cooke himself took them under his wing. The Womack brothers toured with the Soul Stirrers, and Cooke mentored Bobby specifically. That mentorship lit something in him. When Cooke died in 1964, it broke something in him too. Stay with me on this one, because Bobby Womack's story is not a straight line. By the early 70s, he was on fire. Communication, understanding, across 110th Street.
Talk to me. Have you ever been lonely?
He was playing sessions for Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles, Dusty Springfield. He wrote songs that the Rolling Stones, Janis Joplin, and Wilson Pickett turned into hits. The man had more talent than he probably had room for. And then disco showed up and salsa music. The real slow-cooked, gospel-rooted kind fell out of fashion. Here's what gets me about this part. Womack himself described the slide plainly. He told Rolling Stone in 1984, "I was really off into the drugs, blowing as much coke as I could blow, and drinking, and smoking weed and taking pills. Just like that, no drama, no excuses, just the truth."
But I ain't there to rub your back.
He and Sly Stone were running partners in the Laurel Canyon excess of that era, and neither of them came through it clean. He fought his way back in the 80s with If You Think You're Lonely Now and the acclaimed Poet albums. Went into rehab at the end of the decade for a 20-year cocaine addiction.
When it's cold outside, who are you?
Had a stunning late career comeback in 2012, The Bravest Man in the Universe, produced with Damon Albarn of Gorillaz. That album title wasn't just music, it was a statement of survival. Bobby Womack was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2009. He died in June 2014, age 70. Some of y'all just realized you never gave him the flowers he was owed. Drop that in the comments. Number 7, Billie Holiday.
And blood at the root.
If there is a name on this list that carries the most weight historically, culturally, spiritually, it might be this one.
Pastoral scene.
Billie Holiday, Lady Day, born Eleanor Fagan in Philadelphia in 1915, raised in Baltimore, largely on her own. A childhood that no child should have to survive.
For the crows to pluck.
She found her way to Harlem singing in jazz clubs, and by the mid-1930s she was recording, performing, doing things with a melody that no one had done before, and frankly, no one has fully replicated since. Here's the thing about Billie Holiday's voice. It wasn't technically perfect in any conventional sense. It was late. It was behind the beat. It found the emotional center of a lyric and stayed there.
Blood on the leaves.
When she sang, you didn't just hear the song. You felt the story behind it. Frank Sinatra said in 1958 that nearly every major pop singer of her generation had been touched by her genius. That wasn't flattery. That was a fact.
black bodies swinging.
But her personal life was a minefield from the beginning. And alcohol, her drink of choice was gin and port wine, was woven into it from early on. She started using heroin in the 1940s.
And bitter.
Was arrested, imprisoned, had her cabaret card revoked by New York City authorities in 1950, which meant she couldn't perform in venues that sold alcohol. Let that land for a second. They took away her ability to work in clubs because of her addiction, while the addiction was partly fueled by the isolation of not being able to work. By the late 1950s, her voice was rougher, the years showing through every note. Some say that rough version of her voice was more devastating than anything she'd done before.
Strange fruit hanging.
Her 1958 album, Lady in Satin, might be the most emotionally accurate recording of a human life in all of American music. In May 1959, Billie Holiday was admitted to the hospital with liver and heart failure.
For the crows to pluck.
Federal agents arrested her in her hospital bed for narcotics possession. She died on July 17, 1959. She was 44 years old. She had 70 cents in her bank account, and over 3,000 people came to her funeral, and the music still plays. Number 6, Al Green. A man looking at his life and deciding something has to change. Whether that change came too late or just in time depends on who you ask. Al Green. Memphis, Tennessee. By 1972, he was the most popular soul singer in the world. Let's Stay Together. I'm Still in Love with You. Love and Happiness. Tired of Being Alone. You have ever slow danced to a song in a darkened room and felt like the music itself was holding you? Al Green probably wrote that moment. Most people didn't know, and what the magazine covers didn't show, was that he was also a documented abuser of drugs and alcohol at the height of his fame. The excesses of stardom had their hooks in him. Friend Mary Woodson poured a pot of scalding hot grits on his back while he prepared to shower. She then took her own life with his revolver. Green was hospitalized for months with second and third degree burns covering much of his body. What he said later was that the tragedy didn't just hurt him physically, it hollowed something out and let something else in. He had already been moving toward faith. After 1974, there was no moving away. By 1976, he had purchased a full gospel tabernacle church in Memphis and been ordained as pastor. In 1979, he stepped off a stage mid-performance, interpreted it as a sign from God, and effectively left secular music for 15 years. Came back eventually, won 8 Grammy Awards in the gospel category, made peace on his terms with both his past and his faith. And that complicated, beautiful, difficult life is now considered one of soul music's most extraordinary stories. Not destroyed, redirected. Number 5, D'Angelo. If you follow R&B in the year 2000, you already know this story. You lived it. D'Angelo Michael Eugene Archer, born in Richmond, Virginia, 1974. Brown Sugar in 1995 basically ignited the neo-soul movement. Erykah Badu, Maxwell, Lauryn Hill, a whole generation of music that said soul didn't have to be nostalgic. It could be right now, raw and real and romantic. And then Voodoo came out in January 2000, debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, won 2 Grammys. Rolling Stone would eventually rank it 28th on their list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. And the Voodoo tour that year, 3 hours of soul, funk, and gospel every night, was by any account one of the greatest live shows of that entire era. And then he disappeared, not slowly, just gone. Here's what was happening behind the scenes. The Untitled How Does It Feel music video You know the one. That slow burn closer had become so culturally omnipresent that it consumed him. Women came to his concerts for his body, not his music. He broke stage equipment on tour. He fell apart. In April 2001, a close friend died by suicide, and D'Angelo started drinking hard. His alcoholism escalated. Plans for new albums were scrapped. In January 2005, he was arrested in suburban Richmond for DUI, possession of cocaine and marijuana. Mugshots circulated. He barely looked like himself. That September, just 1 week after receiving a suspended sentence, he crashed his Hummer drunk in Virginia. 2 stints in rehab hadn't held. It would be 14 years before he returned with Black Messiah in 2014. And he did return with that voice still intact, somehow, impossibly. But D'Angelo passed away in October 2025 at just 51 years old. Those 14 years of darkness in between, that's what this list is about. The music we almost lost, the music we did lose. Number 4, Etta James, born Jamesetta Hawkins in Los Angeles, 1938, abandoned by her teenage mother, raised by foster families. She had a hit at 14. Johnny Otis discovered her singing and helped her record The Wallflower in 1955, #1 R&B. By 1961 on Chess Records, she gave us At Last and All I Could Do Was Cry and Trust in Me, and I'd Rather Go Blind in 1967. You've never heard Etta James sing that song, Please Stop This Video and Fix That. But the same pain that lived inside those performances was also inside her life, and it was eating her alive. By the mid-60s, she was using heroin. The career collapsed. She was arrested for writing bad checks to fund her habit, spent time at Rikers Island, spent 4 months in a Chicago jail, came to recording sessions high or drunk until her record company could barely function around her. She wrote in her autobiography, "My career was in the toilet. People tried to help, but I was hell-bent on getting high." If you've ever watched someone with more talent than you'll ever see in one person just refuse to get out of the way of their own destruction, you know how powerless that feels. She fought back multiple times. The Rolling Stones took her on tour in 1978 and exposed her to a whole new generation. She had a powerful artistic renewal, but her drug habit resumed in the 80s. Beyonce sang Its Last at President Obama's inauguration in 2009 in a role loosely based on Etta. Etta James died in January 2012. She was 70. The leukemia got her before the bottle finished the job, but the bottle had been trying for 50 years. And I'd argue she still doesn't get enough credit, which is why she's at number 4. Number 3, Marvin Gaye. You know who this is, but I want to tell you the part you might not know. Marvin Gaye, born in Washington, D.C., 1939. His father was a minister and an alcoholic who beat his children regularly. Marvin grew up terrified of him. And maybe it's impossible to grow up that way and not carry something from it, because Marvin Gaye spent his entire adult life trying to outrun a fear he couldn't name and a pain he couldn't contain. The music, though, God. What's going on in 1971, one of the greatest albums in human history? Let's Get It On in 1973. I heard it through the grapevine. Sexual Healing, a voice that could break your heart from a standing start. But behind all of that, cocaine, heavy and escalating since the early 60s, alcohol layered on top of it. By the early 80s, his second marriage was disintegrating. His tax debt to the IRS had ballooned to millions of dollars, and he was, by everyone close to him, unrecognizable, paranoid, volatile, dangerous to himself and occasionally to others. In February 1981, Marvin Gaye took a ferry from England to the small Belgian fishing town of Austin, broke, deep in both drink and drug dependency, and being chased by the IRS. He was supposed to stay a few weeks. He stayed 18 months. And in that crumbling seaside apartment, hiding from the world, he wrote Sexual Healing, the song that won him 2 Grammys. The song that was his goodbye to the world, even if nobody knew it yet. He came home in 1983, moved into his parents' house. By the end, his cocaine use had him borderline psychotic. He told his mother he'd made his peace with dying. On April 1, 1984, one day before his 45th birthday, Marvin Gaye Sr. shot his son following an argument. He was later found to have a brain tumor, which may explain some of his behavior. But none of that gives Marvin Gaye back. The music says everything he couldn't. It always did. Number 2, Jackie Wilson. I want you to hold this one. Jackie Wilson, Detroit, Michigan, born 1934. He began drinking at 9 years old. His father introduced him to it. That's where this story starts, before he ever stepped on a stage. By 19, he had replaced Clyde McPhatter, our number 10, in Billy Ward and the Dominoes. And when he went solo in 1957, he became something that hadn't really existed before. A black male performer who moved like a dancer, sang like a god, and commanded a stage like he owned the air in the room. Lonely Teardrops, Repeat, Higher and Higher, Baby Workout. 4-octave vocal range. Michael Jackson said explicitly that Jackie Wilson was his model. James Brown said the same. He wasn't just a singer. He was the template. And he was also, through most of it, fighting a private war with alcohol and cocaine, and an industry that took far more from him than it ever gave back. His manager handled his money. There was nothing left as for Jackie. His son was shot and killed at 16. And Wilson spent 2 years in a reclusive depression, drinking, withdrawn, barely recording. By 1975, he was on the oldies circuit. On September 25, 1975, he was on stage in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, singing Lonely Teardrops when he had a massive heart attack. He fell and hit his head on the stage equipment. The impact caused severe brain damage. He was in a coma for 9 years. His family fought for years through litigation just to ensure he received proper care. 2 of his daughters died during those years. Your love lifted me high. Jackie Wilson could not speak. His only communication for 9 years was blinking his eyes. He died on January 21, 1984. He was 49 years old. There were royalties he never received. There was credit he never got. There was a career that deserved a different ending. But the beginning of that ending was poured from a bottle, one night at a time, for decades. If you've ever seen someone with extraordinary gifts just be slowly buried by circumstances and self, you know that's not just a tragedy. That's a heartbreak with no bottom. Number 1, Whitney Houston.
We'll always.
There are voices, maybe once or twice in a generation, that feel like proof of something. Proof that human beings are capable of something beyond the ordinary. Whitney Houston was that proof.
I'm not what you need.
Born in Newark, New Jersey, 1963. Her mother was Whitney Houston, a gospel legend. Her cousin was Dionne Warwick. Her godmother was Aretha Franklin. She sang in the church choir at New Hope Baptist from the time she could stand. And when she opened her mouth, even at 15, even in rehearsal, people stopped what they were doing. They just stopped. She signed with Arista at 19. Her self-titled debut album in 1985 was the beginning of a commercial and artistic run that still has no peer in R&B history.
Said I will, Lord.
7 consecutive #1 singles: Saving All My Love for You, Greatest Love of All, I Wanna Dance with Somebody. I Will Always Love You, her version of that Dolly Parton song, turned it into one of the best-selling singles of all time. She sold over 220 million records, 6 Grammy Awards, 2 Emmy Awards, 30 Billboard Music Awards, and then cocaine and alcohol together, regularly, over years and years, quietly, publicly, devastatingly.
So goodbye.
She had been introduced to cocaine as a teenager. The addiction escalated through her marriage to Bobby Brown, a marriage that was, by almost all accounts, deeply troubled and mutually destructive. She admitted publicly in 2002 that she was using cocaine, marijuana, and pills. The performances started to slip. Hoarse notes where there used to be effortless flight. The voice that had once seemed immune to gravity started showing the weight. Multiple trips to rehab, interventions. Her mother, Sissy, watched and begged and prayed. The label watched and worried. The world watched and hoped. On February 11, 2012, Whitney Houston was found unconscious in a bathtub at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Los Angeles. She was 48 years old. The coroner ruled her death an accidental drowning with heart disease and cocaine use as contributing factors. Cocaethylene, the substance the body creates when cocaine and alcohol are metabolized together, was present in her system. The night before, she had been singing and laughing with friends in the hotel. She sounded good, people said. She sounded like herself. And that's the part that still gets me. Because with Whitney Houston, the cruelest truth isn't that the addiction destroyed the voice. It's that the voice was still there, still trying to come back, still reaching, and the addiction got there first.
Darling, I love you.
Greatest of all time. Gone at 48.
I'm not what you need.